Our objective for this lesson is to recognize the significance of the World Wide Web in the initial process of conducting a web search. Having a good understanding of the World Wide Web, what it is, and a basic understanding of how it works moves us into understanding how do we search the web effectively. The internet is a global network of computers. It is millions of computers around the world all connected. All of these devices are or can be connected by cables, phone lines, fiber optics, and cellular signals. The internet includes email, instant messaging, multiplayer gaming, music streaming, video streaming, the World Wide Web, and more. So let's take a closer look at this. If we think about the internet, remember, our objective is to recognize the significance of the World Wide Web in the process of conducting a web search. So how does the World Wide Web fit in to the internet? Well, what is the internet? If we look at some analogies, a kitchen is to a house as email is to the internet. Windows are to a house as instant messaging is to the internet. Floors are to a house as multiplayer gaming is to the internet. Walls are to a house as music streaming is to the internet. Bathrooms are to a house as video streaming is to the internet. Bedrooms are to a house as the World Wide Web is to the internet, meaning the World Wide Web is part of the internet. And if we look at a visual, we see that here we have a house. This house has walls. This bathroom is part of the house. The kitchen is part of the house. The floors in the house are part of the house. The bedroom is part of the house. The windows are part of the house. Here we have the internet. Email is part of the internet. Video streaming is part of the internet. Multiplayer gaming is part of the internet. Text messaging is part of the internet. Music streaming is part of the internet. And all the way at the top, the World Wide Web is part of the internet. So the World Wide Web is not the internet. It is a piece or part of the internet. If we were to break this down a little bit more and look at it even a little bit closer, if you are taking a shower in your house, you are in the house, but you are specifically in the bathroom. If you are on a website, you are using the internet, but specifically you are using the World Wide Web. When you're sending text messages or using the YouTube app, you are using the internet, but you may not necessarily be using the World Wide Web depending on how you are using the app. If you are at the app's website, yes, you are using the World Wide Web. But if you just open the app on, say, like your smartphone, you're just using the internet and not the World Wide Web. Remember, our objective is to recognize the significance of the World Wide Web in the initial process of conducting a web search. It all leads to, why do we use the World Wide Web? Here's a visual. So you have a shower. The shower is in the house. Specifically, it's in the bathroom. Here we have a website. The website is on the internet, but specifically, it is on the World Wide Web. Texting, streaming, or email, they're all on the internet, but they're not necessarily part of the World Wide Web, because when you text, you don't have to go to a website. When you go to YouTube, you could go to YouTube's website, but you don't have to go to YouTube's website. When you send an email, you don't necessarily have to go on a website to get to email. There are email protocols that allow you to send and receive emails without going on to the World Wide Web. So with these, you are using the internet, but not necessarily the World Wide Web. If we were to understand this a little bit better, you are using the internet most of the time. Almost all the time you're using the internet, but you are not always using the World Wide Web. If you are texting or talking on your smartphone, you are using the internet, but not the World Wide Web. because your phone is connected by a cellular signal, and that cellular signal is part of the internet, but not the World Wide Web. If you're watching Netflix shows on your television, you are using the internet, but not the World Wide Web. If you're watching Netflix on your computer and you went to Netflix website, yes, you are using the World Wide Web. But if you're watching Netflix on your TV, you are using your cable provider's signal, which might be fiber optics. It might be DSL, what they call DSL. It might be cable. That is not the World Wide Web. That is the internet. If you are gaming online, you are using the internet, but not the World Wide Web. If you're searching Google for information, you are using the internet, and more specifically, you are using the World Wide Web, because in order to conduct a Google search, you have to go to Google's website and conduct that website search. And let's wrap all of this up. The internet and the World Wide Web are not the same. The World Wide Web, or WWW, is part of the internet. WWW means World Wide Web. Most web addresses begin with www. You don't always have to type that www in when you're typing in a web address, but many websites do begin with www. Examples are www.google.com or www.wanacups.org or www.instagram.com or www.epicgames.com. The main reason we use the World Wide Web is to visit websites. That is the purpose of the World Wide Web. And there's many different websites, so depending on what website you want to visit, what you want to do on the World Wide Web, the main reason you visit the World Wide Web is to go to websites, because that's why the World Wide Web is there, to go to websites. When we don't know the website address, we conduct a web search. So remember, our objective: recognize the significance of the World Wide Web in the initial process of conducting a web search. We need to go to the World Wide Web to get to a website in order to conduct a web search. You cannot conduct a web search without going to the World Wide Web, meaning you need the World Wide Web in order to conduct a web search. So why is all of this important? Just to reiterate what we just stated, remember our objective: recognize the significance of the World Wide Web in the initial process of conducting a web search. It is important because to understand search engines, we need to understand the following. Search engines are part of the World Wide Web. We cannot search the web unless we are using the World Wide Web. And there's a worksheet that you are to complete. This worksheet is 10 questions. It is in the form of a Google form. If you have any questions, you may send me an email or a comment in Google Classroom.